Hey guys, King of Charmanners here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today I bring to you the early meta-analysis for the Johto Cup. So I know some of you are trying to, well, most of you probably think this is just like the Skarmory, Azumarill, and freaking Umbreon Cup, right? Interesting enough, there's a lot of picks in this cup that are actually kind of neutralize that core or like give it a really hard time. But to put that out there, I actually thought this was going to take second place. I thought after the Sinnoh Cup, you guys would want the Johto Cup, but it actually wasn't in that order. So I was kind of surprised. Me personally, a little bit about the King of Charmanners, I love Johto. Just because they had like one of the most like chipper theme songs of all time. You know, if you watch the anime, you know what I'm talking about. Like as soon as they released Johto and I was a little kid and I heard Pokemon was having a second generation, I was in my living room and you had those old little like box TVs back in the day and they played the theme song and I was just like jumping around and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. Oh my gosh, Pokemon is getting a second season. And then I was like, when I was a little kid, also like looking through the like magazines, like looking at the Pokédex of new Pokemon, I was like so excited. A little bit of days, man. Anyways, I forgot the mental health tip for the last video. That's why I'm twisting my tongue. So make sure you take a deep breath. Alright, for those of you that did not make Legend or you're close to it, make sure you take a deep breath before you battle because you are probably really anxious. Either you are this close to making it or you're like, you just need that one good day and you're there. If you didn't make it, it's perfectly fine. Breathe, you're still alive because that's what matters. Because anxiety is a B word. So make sure you take a deep breath, break your feedback loop, take a deep breath before every battle, and make sure you play with as calm of a mind as possible. Emotions and rage can in fact hinder your gameplay. More on the mentality of PvP later, because I fight as a hobby, so you know when you're getting punched in the face or someone's trying to like break one of your limbs or choke you unconscious, it's a lot more intense than Pokemon Go PvP, so more on mental mindset later. But anyways, again, that's my mental health tip. Take a deep breath before you battle. Battling in Go Battle can be very anxiety-inducing because it is blind. Especially if it's blind and you just have a really bad string of losing leads or you're just having really bad luck. So breathe. And without further ado, this is the early Johto Cup analysis for Season 10 Go Battle League. Alright, so here's the timeline for Season 10 Go Battle League. As you see here, Johto is dead last. Ironically, even though it is the second generation, it is dead last for Go Battle League season, and you're only going to have it for a week in comparison to Holiday, Sinnoh, and Love Cup. Those are actually longer. I don't know why it's only 1 week long. Don't ask me. Niantic must really hate Johto. Maybe it's because of all the Azu. I mean, it's your fault, right? You made Azu, you made Skarmory, you made Umbreon so overpowered, and didn't we know that Umbreon had a community day last time? So y'all really like Gen 2. But I'm guessing they're assuming they're like, oh my gosh, all the meta Pokemon are in like Johto if they even know what a meta is. I'm assuming that anyone at Niantic really doesn't have much of an idea what they're doing, at least when it comes to the PvP section. I'm just saying. Anyways, enough roasting about them. This is just an interesting statistic to me. As you see here, from February 21st to February 28th, you will only have a week of Johto in comparison to everything else. But it's going to be kind of good because if you really think you're going to have a lot of fun, or if it's something a breath of new air along with when all three of the leagues come back again as usual. Alrighty, so as you see here, I already have the Johto Cup already put up for you here on the custom rankings. In order to get here, all you have to do is go to the custom rankings. It'll pop up this screen, put it in Great League, and then all you do is go to Pokédex number. After you put the Pokédex number, as you see, PvPoke is amazing. Matt is an amazing human being. As I always say, please consider contributing to PvPoke.com. All you have to do is put the generation right here, 152, 251, and then you hit simulate, and it'll pop out this. But of course, King of Charmanners already does the homework for you. This is why you watch my channel. So, as you see in the 2 shield, remember how I told you that there's a lot of things that kill Umbreon or Skarmory or Azu? Ironically, Azu, all 3 of those are still in the top 15, but they're not even like top 5, or like They're not even like the top of the top. Your number one, ironically, is Chinchou XL. Yes, it's a very interesting pick. So Chinchou XL is incredibly spammy. And ironically, this little floating head bubble thing that you probably find at the end of Finding Nemo, but it's a lot cuter than the actual like thing you see in the movie. It's very, very powerful. The only problem is you need a level 50 and you need a hundo. So that's a lot to invest in. But it is incredibly powerful because of its ability to essentially wipe out the Azu Skarm Core. Azu Skarm Core is very, very powerful in Go Battle League, and back in the day when Azu Skarm was, well, back in the day when the Great League pool wasn't so congested, Azu Skarm reigned supreme, and it was very, very strong. Fortress comes at a very, very interesting price. And what I mean by a very, very interesting price is that you wipe out Umbreon and Kingdra Shadow, and basically Fortress destroys most of the dark types. Just because, again, yeah, Dark is weak to Bug for there. And then Fortress has a very wide variety of a moveset that you can use. You have Earthquake, Heavy Slam, etc. There's a lot of things you can do with it. You do lose against Azu, however, it is barely a loss. At 478, this isn't exactly a terrible matchup. As you see, you do win the 1 shield. However, in the 2 shield, when you come out of this matchup, go down here, Azu has to burn all of its energy. So it's left with 8 HP. So you can choose to sack Fortress in the lead if you choose so. And if they don't actually have Ice Beam, it's a very, very interesting conundrum what you go through. So if they have Play Rough, here's what happens. So they're not actually rocking it. Fortress wins the 2 shield. That's the really interesting part about this. Most Azus will be running Ice Beam though, so don't count on it. However, generally, as you see here, again, Fortress doesn't have a super bad matchup. Yes, you lose outright. However, you force both shields and it lives with 8 HP. So you can farm down the rest of Azu and then throw a strong closer in the back, and maybe you can take the dub that way. As you see here, Fortress is a very, very interesting and powerful pick. Umbreon, of course, is still top tier. However, instead of the Psychic type one, I mean the Psychic Legacy move one, you're gonna need Last Resort. Last Resort gives you that options against the Mirror, and there's not a lot of targets for Psychic in this cup anyways, so that's why you want Last Resort. You win the Mirror, or if they don't have Last Resort, you have Last Resort, you win the Mirror, and of course, Umbreon is still, as you predicted, a beast. Skarmory falls at number 14. So the reason why it falls at number 14, just because there's a lot of spammy and powerful picks. Of course, you have Azu up here. Politoed is in this cup, and it is the fastest gunning. It guns down your opponent. You literally ball out. If you had to pick an all-star for the NBA All-Star game, it would be Politoed, because it would ball so hard. It's going to take all of your elo. You know, I try to make a little bit of... Wait, hold on. Ball so hard... even something won't find you, or like I tried to make a joke but I epically failed. Anyways, Politoed is incredibly spammy. It does, for some odd reason, it says Surf for the second one, but honestly you could put Blizzard or Earthquake. It's really up to you. I would say Earthquake just because you have a lot more targets, but there's nothing wrong with Blizzard as well, because with Blizzard you can target things like Meganium. So Blizzard, Politoed is in fact very good. Remember I mentioned to you that Azu is usually going to carry Ice Beam. In this cup, as you see in the rankings, Azu usually will carry Ice Beam and Play Rough, so you will have that combination. Play Rough is there for the sheer fact you can take out Umbreon, and you basically yeet the Dark-type archetype. Hydro Pump does have targets, however, you're not going to find, like, because of the fact that Umbreon's pretty safe in this meta, outside of seeing things, of course, like Fortress, that bear matchup against Skarmory, as you see over here, or you see things like Chinchou or a Kingdra where it debuffs you. It's still very, very powerful, so you will see a lot of that over here, and I almost knocked over something, so I apologize for that. But some interesting picks. Steelix, you would never think about it. However, the fact of the matter is Generation 2 doesn't have a lot of fairy types, so because of that, Steelix is going to town. Steelix literally goes to town. Now here's the interesting part about what I just said. So as far as charm goes, Granbull is in this cup, so you can use Granbull. Granbull is in Generation 2. If you remember way back in the day, it was Snubbull was actually like a dark or a normal type, and then it transitioned over to adopting the fairy typing. What makes it really interesting is that Granbull actually has a lot of targets, so you can use it as a charmer, or you can use it to, as you see here, to wipe out to basically one-shot any of the dark types. Not Umbreon though, because it's super thick, but you could one-shot like Steelix, you can one-shot Tyranitar. There's a lot of things you can do with Granbull in here. So it's going to be a very interesting pick. Even though it's at number 73, again, Granbull is beastly. In the 2-shield, you can Charm 2-shield strats can work in this cup just because of Granbull in the lead. So you can put Granbull in the lead, pop it with 2 shields. Don't let that 73 ranking fool you. It's going to be incredibly powerful in this cup and really, really annoying, especially if you run it with Charm. Yes, Azu does give a problem. However, if you put Umbreon, like, you could just 2-shield your way to victory. So it's very, very strong, very, very interesting what Granbull can pull off in here. Other picks like Ampharos, Tyranitar, Kingdra returns. Great League Kingdra, as annoying as it was in Ultra League, it is going to be annoying in Great League because in a lot of instances, if you do get the debuff, you can come out with a W. So you can just Octazooka things to death. So it's going to be super annoying for this cup. Noctowl is also an option for this cup. With Shadow Ball, you can take out the Psychic archetype. The only issue with the only issue with Shadow Ball is that, like, you're not going to find a lot of Psychics to blow off or even Ghost types in Generation 2. So, sadly, not even a lot of the starters in this cup. As far as Typhlosion might do some damage. You might see Typhlosion. Typhlosion doesn't rank at 69. However, it is at 67. And as you see here, it does pretty dang well at melting down a lot of the Bug and Grass types, and along with that, Blast Burn still does do a ton of damage. Outside of seeing an Azumarill, Typhlosion can be a solid pick, or if you beam it to death, hashtag get beamed for every one of my fans, I love y'all. It's going to be really interesting. But as you see here, it's still, those three are still very powerful, but there's a lot of other picks, like I mentioned, in between in the 2-shield or in save switches that can be really strong. Also, for all of you in the Pacific that have a Corsola, I am super jelly because this thing is amazing. And if you have a shiny one, or they canceled the shiny event, but when the shiny comes out, I want it. All right, now we're on the 2-shield. Here's the 1-shield. 1-shield gets pretty interesting. Steelix is the king of the 1-shield. Interesting, right? Well, the thing about it is Dragon Tail is still beastly. Despite the fact that Azu does run around, outside of seeing things like Azu, there's not a lot of things that can stop Dragon Tail from just running you over. So Dragon Tail Steelix is very powerful in the 1-shield. Of course, did you really expect anything new from the Azu? In the 1-shield, Azu is still beastly, destroys a lot of things, and barely beats out Steelix for the sheer fact, well, it's kind of ironic that Azu isn't number 1 because it beats out Steelix. So statistically, it's really interesting how this goes out. But this is the XL. Even if you don't have the XL, the level 40 version is still equally as powerful. Still as annoying, very, very strong, etc. One of the sleeper picks in here is probably going to be Qwilfish. Qwilfish is a very interesting pick. It can take out Azumarill in the 2s. You also have the option of running Sludge Wave. So Qwilfish can be a very dangerous counter to Azumarills, and Qwilfish is, it's pretty, if you've seen it in the, let's see, what cup was it? The Halloween Cup? It's really freaking annoying. For those of you that like Lord Quagsire, the Quag, the Sire, the King, the Sire, Quagsire is very, very strong in the 1-shield scenario. Stone Edge and Earthquake is very strong, and because Quagsire is sporting Mudshot, you will get to your moves very quickly. Now, the thing about Quagsire is that it's kind of like if you see a grass type, you die. It's pretty much that simple. Unless you are able to Stone Edge to death, of course. But as you see here, very strong against Ampharos, Steelix, Chinchou, etc. Quagsire goes to town. Just be careful again of those. Just be careful of grass types because it's going to give you an issue. Also, Quagsire does struggle against things like Skarmory, as well as Politoed, just because you take neutral damage from Weather Balls. You take neutral damage, you don't resist them. So Politoed can go to town on you. Hitmontop is coming out here as a top 10 pick, just because it has Stone Edge. With Stone Edge and the fact that it's a fighter, it can just nuke things to death, and of course counter is just really overpowered. Umbreon still takes its seat over here in the 2s and the 1s as a top pick. And you have Ampharos. So Ampharos is a very, very interesting mon. It beats Azu, it beats Skarmory, and with a little tidbit here, if you do have, from my good friend 2O Butters, Tall Electrode, that's what he calls it, and he is the OG of Tall Electrode. If you have Tall Electrode, you get into the zeros and you Focus Blast an Umbreon, you can actually beat it. Yes. Ampharos can beat Skarmory, Azumarill, and with Focus Blast, can take out Umbreon. So, a very, very interesting anti-pick for those top 3 in the Johto Cup. I'm telling you all my secrets now. I don't know why I'm telling you all this right now, but then again, you know, it's like, this is the stuff I like doing because I consistently create top teams, but this is one of the things I was planning on using for the Johto Cup. Just putting that out there. And I feel like focus blasting with Ampharos would be so much fun, but in fact, it does do super well against the big three, like I mentioned. And it overall, there aren't a lot of things outside of Steelix, things like Steelix, Gligar, and of course the grass types that do resist electric. In fact, grass types are kind of at the bottom of here just for the sheer reason that Skarmory exists. Literally, Skarmory is probably the reason why all of the grass types are in the bottom, because Skarmory literally walls a majority of the grass types in this cup. And you're probably going to see a lot of Skarmorys because there's not a lot of things that threaten Skarmory outside of Azu barely has a good matchup. Umbreon does decently well against it. Probably Steelix or Tyranitar, things that resist flying type moves. So one shield is a whole bunch of mess, but again, the top three are still very powerful. Ampharos, Steelix, Quillfish is an interesting pick as well. Hitmontop is pretty great. Lantern is a good substitute for Chinchou. Lantern does beat the Skarm Azu core as well, and it does really well against a lot of things. The only issue is with Thunderbolt and Hydro Pump, it's going to take you a little longer to get there, and it just doesn't have Bubble Beam, so you don't have the debuff potential that Chinchou can have. A lot of interesting picks in the one shield, as you see here. You likely, if you've been playing Go Back for a while, you already have a lot of these mons picked up, and you can use them for the Johto Cup. And last but not least, we have the closer. When shields are down, your Pokemon go to town, or your opponent's Pokemon's town are going to town on you because they got energy lead and you're about to get nuked. But, as you see here, for the Zero Shield, remember what I told y'all if you'll watched a couple of my videos? Wild Charge is always at the top, especially with the mons that do the most damage with Wild Charge, like Shadow Raikou. Interesting enough, for those of you that have been playing Go Bally for a while, Shadow Raikou was actually a beastly closer for the last couple of seasons. For the first couple of seasons Go Bally, because besides Shadow Electivire coming out, Raikou went to town with Wild Charge. It's freaking hilarious. What's really interesting about Shadow Raikou as well, it actually gives the Azu Skarm core a hard time, and so if you look at the Sim versus Umbreon, it's really interesting. Here you have Shadow Raikou, and then you put Umbreon against it, and if you have Umbreon, as you see here, you go to the zeros. Shadow Raikou can actually beat Umbreon. You have to double Wild Charge, and it's super close, but if you have a little bit of an energy lead, one foul play won't kill you. So for those of you crazy tigers that are going out here to power up, probably, I don't know how many of you, if you had a popularity tier, Raikou would be ranked 3rd, because you always hear about Entei, because Entei had the 3rd movie and it looked freaking beastly and it was awesome and it was freaking super bad A, and then you had Suicune because of Pokemon Crystal, and then freaking Raikou is just here. But as you see here, double Wild Charge Raikou can take out Umbreon in the closer. It's a close matchup, but with a little bit of energy lead, Raikou can go to town. You also have Quagsire. Lord Quag is able to just nuke a lot of things. You still lose against Umbreon with Quagsire, as you see here in the closer. So, barely lose, so Quagsire can win out. Quagsire does take out Raikou. It also takes out the electric types and can also take out Azu in the closer just because of the amount of pressure it gives off. Lantern's also a very powerful closer. And if you like bacon, it's not baby bacon. It's not mammoth bacon. It's porky. I don't know. I don't have a nickname for Piloswine. But Piloswine is very beastly. Does take out Meganium, takes out the grass archetype in here as well, and it's a huge nuke. It nukes really hard. The only issue is it's super squishy, so you're not likely to see a lot of Piloswines around. Azu will still rank as the top of the closers just because of the fact it's so thick and can survive against a lot of things. You have things like Heracross. Heracross with close combat and Mega Horn is the preferred moveset right here just because you don't have a lot of targets for Rock Blast. Meganium also keeps up here as one of the top closers because Frenzy Pond Earthquake is an extremely strong combination, and Meganium is in fact able to basically blast its way through Shadow Raikou and make close matchups against things like Blossom, Umbreon, and give Kingdra a hard time as well. It's also obscenely thick, so the thing about Meganium is it's still really good in this cup, and would be really, really good if Skarmory didn't exist. Literally. Skarmory is the reason why Meganium, even Meganium only takes the closer despite the fact it was such a powerful Pokemon in Season 1 and Season 2 Go Battle League, just because Flyer is literally wallet. But Meganium's still a solid pick. Other little sleepers here and there is like Sudowoodo. Sudowoodo does have Rock Slide and Earthquakes and can punch a lot of things to death. Lugia is another pick. If you have a Great League Lugia, like the one you got for research, it's really interesting because it does take out a lot of the bug and the fighting type of Johto. However, the issue is that unless it's Ultra League or Master League, you don't have that much. Well, it's still bulky, but like it's Skarmory, Azu, etc. can still give you a hard time just because Dragon Tail is resisted by Azu, and of course, Skarmory resists Dragon Tail. They both resist Dragon Tail. That's all you need to know. Other little picks here, the top 3 are still very good, but other than the ones I mentioned, not too much on the closing scenario. The closers, there's not a lot of things outside of Quag, Raikou, or Piloswine that really do some fast nuking ability. You can put Meganium in here too. The issue is Meganium just doesn't have a lot of targets, just because Friendly Plant is mostly just there to wipe out the water archetype and basically to annihilate Azu from the face of existence where it belongs because it's so freaking annoying. It's been meta for the longest freaking time. And that's pretty much it. As you see, not a lot of variety in Johto, so I'm not surprised you guys picked it as not like number 2 for the polling when I put it out there. And that's GG's. So it's not a surprise that this only has a week for the Johto Cup because the meta is very, very bland. There's not a lot of sleepers in here as well, just because of the fact that Azu, Azumarill, and Skarm are just so powerful. So you're gonna have to have a counter against them, or you're just gonna have some things like the picks I mentioned during this video that can beat out those Pokemon. Just because even to this day in Open Great League, Skarm, Azu, and Umbreon are all in fact super metamons for Open Great League, and they have the most presence in a condensed cup like this. There are some interesting picks here and there, but not to deny that those 3 are insanely strong. So, kind of glad this is only out here for a week. They're probably going to do what they did with Kanto and possibly make it come out in like 2 weeks or longer, something like that, in future seasons. So, just be prepared. But, I hope you guys do have some fun here. Johto can be a little... It's only a week, so likely most of you that are gunning for Legend probably have already made Legend before Johto Cup hits because it is in the last cup and the last week of Season 10. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. You see this little thing on the bottom right, that little box right there? Just put your mouse over it. It will allow you to pop up a sub count, and you can easily subscribe from over there. Really appreciate my current subscribers. Looks like we're going to have another interesting cup condensed to a generation, but this one's probably not going to be as interesting as the other ones. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.